Okay, loves. I was attempting to wait a minute before I did this video, and clearly what's happening here? There we go. Clearly it needs to be done now because I keep getting farther and farther down the rabbit hole here. Where did I even start? Okay, so I began here with sediment. Sediment from my conversation earlier that I'm waiting and uploading the video of today. It's titled Oneness. So if you would like the prequel to this specific conversation, that prequel is called Oneness. Each of my videos is a prequel to what is to come next. If you just follow the trail that's on my YouTube video and the number sequence and connect the dots, you'll find your way home. There are no accidents in life, and there are no accidents in time and space and dimension. Sediment. Matter that settles to the bottom of a liquid. Geology. 1.1. Noun. 1. Matter. Geology. Particulate matter. Particulate matter. Particulate matter that is carried by water or wind and deposited on the surface of the land or the bottom of a body of water, and may in time become consolidated into rock. I then went and had to listen to this beautiful soul so that I could hear somewhere inside here. It doesn't matter what he's saying. I needed to hear him ring his bell to bring me back to where I was in this moment in time and where we are in this moment in time. This man wrestling around has nailed it energetically. And if this message finds you, I suggest you find him and begin to understand what's happening as an evolutionary and planetary body inside of embracing the yin and the yang, the ancient access to the divine the divine access point within you, within him, and within us all. Look at his shirt. So, after hearing the bell, and after sitting on my now nice, cleanly swept porch that my tribe completed today, and I sat out here to hear him ring the bell, and before he did so, I burned some Palo Santo, and I took a break and went inside. I went for a walk even before sitting here, just frustrated with man. And what is it going to take for man to see man? And I guess man wants to see leprosy. And I'm sitting on my clean front doorstep with a cup of tea and my Bible. And my home is in order. And my bag is packed. I have everything I need to go home. Do you? Leprosy. Bumps on skin. A chronic, curable infectious disease, mainly causing skin lesions and nerve damage. Leprosy is caused by infection with the bacterium Mycobacterium leprae. It mainly affects the skin, eyes, nose, and peripheral nerves. Very rare. Fewer than 20,000 U.S. cases per year. Treatable by a medical professional. Spreads by airborne droplets. Requires a medical diagnosis. Lab tests or imaging often required. Chronic, can last for years or be lifelong. How it spreads. By airborne respiratory droplets. Oh, sorry, I was distracted by this cute little bunny running across the little bunny foo-foo hopping through the forest. I saw him. Okay, leprosy. Droplets. By airborne respiratory droplets, coughs or sneezes. Well, if leprosy is contagious and wasn't it a plague? Hansen's disease, interesting. And there are cases of it every year, and it's airborne. What does that mean? Requires a medical diagnosis. Symptoms include light-colored or red skin patches, which somebody complained of today, with reduced sensation, numbness, and weakness in hands and feet. Is that like lethargia? Tired? Treatment consists of antibiotics. Leprosy can be cured with 6 to 12 months of multi-drug therapy. Early treatment avoids disability. Well, at what point is it already everywhere? It already takes 6 to 12 months to cure. And these people are out walking around, breathing the air. Like we are today. Why are we covering up our why are we being told to put a mask on? An airborne pandemic? What's coming next? In recent years, a few people in the United States have been diagnosed with a leprosy, a disease that many believe no longer exists. While the very word leprosy evokes fear in people around the world, there's no need to panic in the United States. Leprosy is no longer an uncontrollable disease. It can be cured. Oh, AAD.org diseases. Okay, well, let's go here, and then maybe we'll move on. Oh, CDC's next. Let's see. Leprosy still occurs in the United States. Are you at risk? Blindness. Leprosy, also called Hansen's disease, is a contagious disease. One way it spreads is from person to person. Even so, it's actually hard to catch. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, about 95% of humans are immune to the bacteria that cause the disease. Because so many people are immune, how we catch it is still a bit of a mystery. It takes a lot of exposure to catch leprosy. If someone has leprosy, a single handshake or a few hours spent sitting next to that person won't spread the disease. You'd have to shake hands or sit next to that person often to get leprosy. Well, I worked in a small office building for 20 years right next to people. Same spot. One person had it in one spot and nobody else knew, and they had it for 6 to 12 months. Curious. Wasn't reported. When did it first start? How would you even know you had it? When did it even begin? Did it even ever end? U.S. dermatologists have noticed that their patients with leprosy, they've noticed patients with leprosy, have one of these risk factors. Lived in a country where leprosy is more common, such as India, Brazil, China, Indonesia, or parts of Africa. Handled an armadillo, spent time outdoors in an area where armadillos live. If you have any of these risk factors, it doesn't mean that you will get leprosy. What are the signs and symptoms of leprosy? The bacteria that cause leprosy reproduction very slowly. Let me start over. I'm tired. The bacteria that cause leprosy reproduce very slowly. Okay? The bacteria. You may notice the first signs in 3 to 4 years, but it can take 20 years or longer for signs to appear. Since it takes so long to see signs, it can be difficult to know what's causing early signs and symptoms, which include the following. Rash or spots that looks red or pink, swelling under your skin, patch of skin that looks lighter or darker and may be dry or flaky, loss of feeling where you have a rash or patch, numbness in a finger or toe, eyes become extremely sensitive to light. Without treatment, the bacteria that cause leprosy can continue to reproduce. In time, they can damage nerves and other parts of your body. If this happens, you may notice one or more of the following. Numbness in your hands or feet. Fingers and thumbs curl, leaving you unable to straighten them. Eye problems such as difficulty blinking, which may lead to dry eyes, eye sores, and eventually blindness. Loss of a finger or toe. Interesting. Your dermatologist will examine your skin because leprosy can look like many other conditions. Armadillos. Let's go back to the CDC. CDC on leprosy. Where are we going with this? Still leper. We know this. Leprosy once feared. They think they have it under control. Where are we going? Transmission. It is not known exactly how Hansen's disease spreads between people. What the fuck? CDC? Thought you were like the bomb. It is not known exactly how Hansen's disease, aka leprosy, we had to change the name of it so it didn't trigger people, spreads between people. Scientists currently think it may happen when a person with Hansen's disease coughs or sneezes and a healthy person breathes in the droplets containing the bacteria. Prolonged close contact with someone with untreated leprosy over many months is needed to catch the disease. You cannot get leprosy from a casual contact with a person who has Hansen's disease, like shaking hands or hugging. It's contradictory. Do you understand that this is contradictory? When you cough and sneeze on your hands. When you cough and sneeze, you're pushing that out into the air. Yeah, you can't get it from hands or hugging or sitting on a bus directly, but you can indirectly. It's an indirect effect of breathing in prolonged close contact with somebody. Armadillos. All right, Leviticus, where are you? Leviticus 17. Was it 13? Leviticus 13. Okay. All right, Leviticus 13. Leviticus 13, the law concerning leprosy. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, when a man has on the skin of his body a swelling, a scab, or a bright spot, and it becomes on the skin of his body like a leprous sore, then he shall be brought to Aaron the priest, or to one of his sons the priests. The priest shall examine the sore on the skin of the body, and if the hair on the sore has turned white, and the sore appears to be deeper than the skin of his body, it is a leprous sore. Then the priest shall examine him and pronounce him unclean. But if the bright spot is white on the skin of his body, and does not appear to be deeper than the skin, and its hair has not turned white, then the priest shall isolate the one who has the sore 7 days. Oh, God. For some reason, I have a meeting on Thursday with somebody, and today I heard God say, not for 7 days. And here we are. And I don't know why. And this is your message, not mine. Take it how it resonates. 5. And the priest shall examine him on the 7th day. And indeed, if the sore appears to be as it was, and the sore has not spread on the skin, then the priest shall isolate him another 7 days. Then the priest shall examine him again on the 7th day. And indeed, if the sore has faded, and the sore has not spread on the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is only a scab, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. 7. But if the scab should at all spread over the skin, after he has been seen by the priest for his cleansing, he shall be seen by the priest again. And if the priest sees that the scab has indeed spread on the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is leprosy. When the leprous sore is on a person, then he shall be brought to the priest. 10. And the priest shall examine him. And indeed, if the swelling on the skin is white, and it has turned the hair white, and there is a spot of raw flesh in the swelling, 11, it is an old leprosy on the skin of his body. The priest shall pronounce him unclean, and shall not isolate him, for he is unclean. And if leprosy breaks out all over the skin, and the leprosy covers all over the skin of the one who has a sore from his head to his foot, toe, wherever the priest looks, 13, then the priest shall consider, and indeed, if the leprosy has covered all his body, he shall pronounce him clean who has the sore. It has all turned white. He is clean. But when the flesh appears on him, he shall be unclean. And the priest shall examine the raw flesh, and pronounce him to be unclean, for the raw flesh is unclean. It is leprosy. Or if the raw flesh changes and turns white again, he shall come to the priest, and the priest shall examine him. And indeed, if the sore has turned white, then the priest shall pronounce him clean who has the sore. He is clean. If the body develops a boil in the skin, and it is healed, and in the place of the boil there comes a white swelling or a bright spot, reddish white, then it shall be shown to the priest. And if when the priest sees it, it indeed appears deeper than the skin, and its hair has turned white, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous sore, which has broken out of the boil. 21. But if the priest examines it, that indeed there are no white hairs in it, and it is not deeper than the skin, but has faded, then the priest shall isolate him 7 days. 22. And if it should be all spread over the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous sore. But if the bright spot stays in one place and has not spread, it is the scar of the boil, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. Or if the body receives a burn on its skin by fire, and raw flesh of the burn becomes a bright spot, reddish white or white, then the priest shall examine it, and indeed if the hair of the bright spot has turned white, and it appears deeper than the skin, it is leprosy broken out in the burn. Therefore the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous sore. But if the priest examines it, and indeed there are no white hairs in the bright spot, and it is not deeper than the skin, but has faded, then the priest shall isolate him 7 days. 27. And the priest shall examine him on the 7th day, and if it has all spread over the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprous sore. But if the bright spot stays in one place and has not spread on the skin, but has faded, it is a swelling from the burn. The priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is the scar from the burn. If a man or woman has a sore on the head or the beard, then the priest shall examine the sore, and indeed, if it appears deeper than the skin, and there is in it thin yellow hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a scaly leprosy of the head or beard. But if the priest examines the scaly sore, and indeed it does not appear deeper than the skin, and there is no black hair in it, then the priest shall isolate the one who has the scale 7 days. And on the 7th day the priest shall examine the sore. And indeed, if the scale has not spread, and there is no yellow hair in it, the scale does not appear deeper than the skin. 33, he shall shave himself. But the scale he shall not shave. And the priest shall isolate the one who has the scale another 7 days. On the 7th day the priest shall examine the scale, and indeed if the scale has not spread over the skin, and does not appear deeper than the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean. He shall wash his clothes and be clean. But if the scale should at all spread over the skin after his cleansing, then the priest shall examine him, and indeed if the scale has spread over the skin, the priest need to not seek for yellow hair. He is unclean. But if the scale appears to be at the standstill, and there is a black hair grown up in it, the scale has healed. He is clean, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. If a man or a woman has bright spots on the skin of the body, specifically white bright spots, then the priest shall look, and indeed if the bright spots on the skin of the body are dull white, it is a white spot that grows on the skin. He is clean. As for man whose hairs have fallen from his head, he is bald, but he is clean. He whose hair has fallen from his forehead, he is bald on the forehead, but he is clean. And if there is on the bald head or bald forehead a reddish white sore, it is leprosy breaking out on his bald head or his bald forehead. Then the priest shall examine it, and indeed, if the swelling of the sore is reddish white on his bald head, or on his bald forehead, on the appearance of leprosy, on the skin of the body. 44, he is a leprous man. He is unclean. The priest shall surely pronounce him unclean. His sore is on his head. Now the leper on whom the sore is His clothes shall be torn, and his head bare, and he shall cover his mustache and cry, Unclean, unclean. He shall be unclean all the days he has the sore. He shall be unclean. He is unclean, and he shall dwell alone. His dwelling shall be outside the camp. Oh, Jesus. Well, loves, man, that took me somewhere. Leprosy. We left off in the King James Bible, back in Malachi. And now we fast forward to Leviticus 13. And leprosy. The law concerning leprosy. Oh, I've never read that before. Interesting. I'm going to leave you with this, loves. I wasn't paying attention to the video. This is for you to understand you and us and history and what is occurring in this moment in time, as evolution, as the process we go through. And this isn't something I have to do for you. This is something God gave me an opportunity to choose. And I still choose you, even though I don't have to. I hope this resonates with you, and I hope it leaves you with something to think about the Bible. I need to be with this myself. A man left my house today, and for his own protection, I didn't want to hug him. I wore black for the first time today, thinking about the black widow on the hill. I'm sitting on my clean front porch, wearing a black jumper, drinking a cup of tea, burning some Palo Santo. Waiting. The journey continues on tomorrow, loves. Have a good night.